Present day. Present time.
Hello, I'm Ghost. I am your host for the next short while, and today we're once again discussing an Uzi work, Death Panda. The Death Panda is a 2006 manga released by the artist Uzi, who's most well known for his work on Mei-chan's daily life. Mei-chan's is a manga I previously discussed, and I gave high praise for being an Arrowgirl manga that actually provides something of substance, a real story, and a pretty solid one at that, along with, some really great artwork. Now, looking at another one of this man's works, the Death Panda, well, it's proof that he's definitely capable of providing a variety of different qualities of work, because the Death Panda is not a particularly good read. Let's talk about it. The Death Panda follows a relatively simple plot. The manga opens up with an idol group being like, oh my gosh, hi guys, and then some people in the audience being like, what's with the giant fucking panda behind them? That's really weird. And then the panda kills them all in gruesome fashion. Then we meet our protagonist, and she's like, man, I'm gonna stop this guy. And then she does not succeed in stopping him, and the Death Panda disappears. That's chapter 1. Chapter 2 starts with a guy raping a girl. Yeah, if I haven't made this clear, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, or if you're not familiar with what Mei-chan's daily life is, or any of the Arrowgirl genre, the Arrowgirl genre is pretty simple. It's the most vile shit you can think of, and you're technically supposed to beat off to it. So in Chapter 2, it begins with a light-haired man engaging in non-consensual intercourse. And, there's some other stuff going on. Our protagonist, she's over at her shrine because she's a shrine girl, and I don't know why I'm about to reenact it. She's self-harming because she's going to do, this weird blood thing, because shrine girls are all magical. And her sister walks in and is like, you shouldn't get those robes dirty. Here's your gym uniform. And then her sister cuts herself, our protagonist cuts herself, and it's a whole thing. And then suddenly the rapist murders the girl, and it's like, oh, that guy might be the Death Panda, given the superhuman strength he just used to tear off that girl's head, huh? Chapter 3. Chapter 3, some average shrine shenanigans. They're like, oh, 300 yen, let's talk to some people. And then, the rapist guy, he pulls up, and she's like, how can I help you? And then he sucker punches our protagonist. Doesn't look super pleasant. Our protagonist is like, what the fuck's going on? Why would you do such a thing? But her sister isn't so stupid. She catches on. She knows it's the Death Panda. And then she gets in a fight with the Death Panda. Pretty much all the innocents die, but both our protagonist and her sister survive. After that, with our protagonist lying, beaten badly, a group of guys are like, hey, she's kind of indirectly responsible for our favorite idol group dying, so we're all gonna rape her. So then there's 25 pages, a full chapter of this, just entirely unrelated to the plot, just rape, and then the Death Panda pulls up and is like, man, that's terrible, in his Death Panda form, of course. And they are, they have a cool bonding moment, and then cut to the sister now being the protagonist. She does some cool stuff. She's like, I'm gonna stop the Death Panda, and then suddenly there's a Death Giraffe as well, who has a cool name. And basically, long story short, her sister became also a hell animal transformer person, because she was really chill with the Death Panda, and then that's pretty much the story. Yeah, not necessarily as much to it as there was in, say, Mei-chan's or something like that. It's a pretty straightforward story for what is over 100 pages of that, but there are strengths to the manga. Let's talk about those strengths and weaknesses. Death Panda is a certainly unique release because its art is on another level, even in comparison to Mei-chan's and many big budget manga that you are likely familiar with. I'm not talking just Mei-chan, I'm talking real big budget shit. You can fucking compare it to One Piece, for Christ's sake. The artwork is genuinely fantastic in a handful of panels. Furthermore, in comparison to a lot of Arrowgirl, this is a lot less sexual overall, outside of the much, much too long rape scene that is of our protagonist that comes out of fucking nowhere and serves effectively nothing to the plot other than giving her a reason to become evil. It's a really overall not particularly sexual read. There are moments, but the vast majority of it is just weird, mystical, magical murder fest, which I am on board with, because the sexual aspect of Goro is tiresome and just not something that I feel like putting myself through usually. Death Panda, however, like I said, is not a particularly good manga, especially in comparison to some of its contemporary works, because it just doesn't really have anything to it. We know that Uzigawaita can actually make some things with some real substance, but this is not that. It's very, very straightforward, and while it's undeniably fun because of how much blood and guts there are, it doesn't have the same polish, the same quality as Mei-chan's Daily Life, the author's and artist's biggest work. Which, I know I'm comparing the two a lot, but you have to. I mean, it's this same genre, same creator, same overall style, it's just a different approach. And ultimately, Death Panda I found disappointing as a result, because I went in expecting another solid work, but it ended up just being incredibly bland and plain. I can't sit here and hate on it too much, because again, like I said, I did have a bit of fun with it, but the story is so disjointed, poorly paced, random, and straightforward, that it just never really hooked me in. Ultimately, I was just there for the big panels where it was just like this crazy panda sweeping a fucking entire, like, 24 people with one swing of his arm. That was the shit I was there for, not the story. And ultimately, that ended up being a bit of a disappointment for me. So while I can't say that Death Panda is a particularly terrible work, I can't necessarily call it particularly good either. If I were to rate it, it would probably be, I don't know, like a 4 out of 10, and that's generous. It might even be lower. I rated it on my anime list. I forget what I gave it, though. Ultimately, Death Panda is fairly good if you're trying to, you know, have your, like, babies first grow, but outside of that, it's not really worth your time. Stick to some of the more reputable titles in the genre if you want some actually half-decent and entertaining blood and guts. Well, I appreciate your time. I know it was a short video, but I just wanted to bring this little release to your attention. Did you read it? Are you gonna read it? If you do, let me know what you think. If you're not going to, still let me know what you think, whether it be of what I've described to you or of the video. I appreciate your time, though, and I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you in the next video next week.